I'm Mary Ann Hansen. I'm an extension plant pathologist with the School of Plant and Environmental Sciences at Virginia Tech.
I'm Alex Hessler, the director of Homefield Farm, an educational certified organic farm located at Virginia Tech's Kentland Research Farm.
And we're out here today on the 25th of September 2019 to look at some research trials that Alex has been doing. We did a video last year on a disease of basil called Basil Downy Mildew that wipes out basil plants early in the season so that you don't get enough yield out of your basil plants. And we mentioned that there were some resistant varieties of basil coming online. And Alex has planted some of these new resistant varieties, and we're out here today to see what the results of his trials show us.
Homefield Farm is a collaboration between the School of Plant and Environmental Sciences and Dining Services. And one of the things that we try to provide a lot of to the dining halls during the summer is basil for making and freezing pesto to get used later in the semester. Something that's really been a roadblock in us providing as much basil as we could has been Basil Downy Mildew. Every year we might get a few cuts in June, maybe even early July, and then eventually Basil Downy Mildew shows up and pretty much wipes us out. Even if the plant looks mostly okay, if you turn over the leaves you can see the spores, and it's just not a pretty product and it's not going to make tasty pesto. So here's a classic basil variety for making pesto. This is Genovese, and we saw Basil Downy Mildew show up this year in late July, and in years that have been wetter than this year, which has been really dry, we've seen it come and wipe out our crop as early as late June. There are a handful of different tactics that we can use to manage Basil Downy Mildew on our crop. Obviously, increasing spacing to promote airflow is always a good practice. As a certified organic farm, there aren't really many pesticides to control Basil Downy Mildew, and the ones that are available aren't too effective. We also want to be concerned about residues on something that we're going to turn into a sauce for our pasta. So I was really excited to learn that there had been 4 varieties developed by Rutgers that were purported to have a strong resistance to Basil Downy Mildew. So we decided to conduct a variety trial this year. We compared the 4 varieties developed by Rutgers, Obsession, Passion, Devotion, and Thunderstruck, along with another variety that apparently has some disease resistance, Prospera, with 2 varieties that typically have shown to be more susceptible, Genovese and Eleonora. So I'm standing in front of Obsession right now, and we've been really pleased with how these varieties have held up to the disease. Obviously it's been a dry year, so the disease pressure hasn't been as significant as it might have been last year when it rained all summer. But even still, we've seen remarkable differences in susceptibility across the different varieties. Our 2 susceptible controls, Genovese and Eleonora, started to show symptoms of Basil Downy Mildew in late July, and that pretty much shut down our yields. We harvested about 3/4 of a pound per plant over 3 harvests spaced every 2 weeks. And our 5 resistant varieties have continued to produce all summer long, and it's late September and we're just starting to see Basil Downy Mildew show up in these plots. We were able to harvest 4 times every 2 weeks on the resistant varieties. We probably could have gotten a 5th and 6th harvest had we needed it. And the foliage has been really beautiful. The flavor is equivalent. There are some differences in appearance between the varieties. Some are a little more short-statured and compact. Some are a little taller and more elongated. But in general, they perform pretty much the same. The yield on these 5 resistant varieties over 4 harvests was about 1 1/4 pound, and it could have easily been up to 2 pounds. Even in a dry year like this, when across the farm disease pressure has been pretty low, we saw remarkable differences in disease susceptibility between the all five varieties that have resistance to Basil Downy mildew and the standard varieties. We were really pleased, and this year we harvested about 1,600 pounds of basil from these two 400-foot long beds.